welcome back to my channel. This is the brand new series, Sofa Sessions and today we've got Dan Curtis. So Dan is a composer, a motivator. He is 101 different things depending on the day. And I'm going to let him introduce himself now. Hi, Dan, welcome.
Gemma, hi, how are you? It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, I'm wonderful, thank you. How are you doing?
I think I'm okay. Yeah, not too bad at all. It's nice to join you. Thank you for the intro. Yeah, it does seem to change depending on what's going on. But composer generally stays in there, and yeah, we move some of the others around. But yeah, it's I think that in this world we can wear many hats, can't we?
Absolutely. I think we're good to wear many hats as well. You don't want to live in a box.
True. No, that's very, very true. But it's lovely to be here anyway. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Wonderful. So do you want to start just telling us a little bit about you, Dan? A bit of your background, what you're doing, who you are, that'd be great.
Yeah, I guess from the musical perspective would make the most sense to start with. Been kind of fortunate enough to work with so many of the great kind of icons of Broadway and the West End stage. Everybody from kind of, Lea Salonga to, Ramin Karimloo, and there are so many. And it depends who's that person for you. Lea was one of those people for me because we all grew up with her singing Princess Jasmine and all of her countless other extraordinary performances. And she was really someone just, incredible to work with. But then through a course of numerous different projects, I kind of got to work with lots of amazing charities and create lots of projects that have involved some of the world's kind of most iconic people, from Sir Paul McCartney, right through to Steve Martin and Jack Black, and so many people who have inspired me my entire life, and to have them in some way grace a project that was conceived and created, which had something to do with me, is just extraordinary. Yeah. So yeah, that's been incredible, and it's kind of, my life is very strange, and I do lots of different things, and there are lots of things I care about. But yeah, the first musical is opening in September, called The Pantomime Life of Joseph Grimaldi. He was a clown from the Regency era, and Joe was really like the world's first celebrity. He was someone who inspired the likes of Charlie Chaplin, and the British stage is really the way it is because of Grimaldi's legacy. We all know about pantomimes, and many of us either go or have been in them across time. And yeah, that's there really because of the legacy of Joseph Grimaldi, and the way that live entertainment was kind of really brought to the forefront of because everything was kind of ballet and high art, opera, and Joe was the complete opposite. And the king would go and watch Joseph Grimaldi. So, this was someone who was born very, low class, in poverty, who took himself to the heights, not only of stardom, but mixing with people like Lord Byron and, as I said, royalty. So, yeah, that's the kind of first musical, and there's lots of other projects going on, including a film musical that we filmed a couple of weeks, well, I think it was about a month back now. So loads going on. We could channel probably into a few of those projects and pick them apart a bit. But I'll wait and see what questions you ask, and then I'll filter some different things in, rather than just talk for ages, which I could do.
Oh, wonderful. No, it's not a bad thing. I love that. So you kind of covered a couple of like your upcoming projects, or like your things that you've just done recently. What do you think has been like your greatest achievement to date?
Yeah, there'd be two. The first one, having that message from Sir Paul McCartney with a video attached, and he contributed to a project. That for me was kind of what I always wanted, was just to get Sir Paul McCartney in some way, and he spoke, and that was amazing. That for me was like a crowning kind of moment. It's very hard to kind of beat that. To kind of, and there have been others, like Michael J. Fox. I'm like the world's biggest Back to the Future fan. So to get Michael J. Fox on a project was
awesome.
Incredible. But back in where are we going to now? 2013, got to take a piano down a mine in Big Pit in Blaenavon to perform a concert for fallen miners. So all those who died in mines or as a result of coal mining diseases. There's one called pneumoconiosis, which is coal dust on the lungs. And we got to take a piano underground for the first time ever to perform a concert underground with the piano. And it was just so poignant, so moving. And we had BBC One show, BBC Breakfast, ITV News, everyone was there and descended on this mine in Blaenavon that morning. And it was just something that I'm not sure will ever happen again. I'm not sure if I'll ever do something that feels so meaningful outside of myself. It was something, just singing and playing music and hearing it travel like a mile plus down a mine and start coming back to you. It was surreal to be surrounded by miners underground that morning. I'm not sure that anything could rival that. It's going to take an awful lot of doing, put it that way.
Wow, that's two really awesome things, really cool things.
There is a third, actually, seeing something that I kind of put together on Times Square and Piccadilly Circus. So a complete takeover of Piccadilly Circus and a billboard in Times Square throughout the whole day for World Mental Health Day. That was nuts.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal. Just like, you imagine these moments in your life. And there it was. Yeah, that was surreal. Very surreal.
That's awesome to have it like in the center of two such huge and influential cities. And
just, it's those kind of things you kind of go, bucket list, tick, bucket list. There were those things, and I got to do two on the same day, just so incredible. And we got Michael Bublé on that. That was another one that meant a lot to me.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so it was kind of, it's been surreal. I've got to work with most of my heroes in some way. They've touched or graced one of the projects that I've been involved in some way, and I've got through most of them, put it that way.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I bet you've still got loads still in the making and yet to come as well. So
yeah, there's the World Mental Health Day 2021 project will be nice. It's got some really interesting people on again, and some that I've not had the chance to work with. A couple of people coming back who've done things on other projects, but I am equally as excited about that.
Yeah, that is so cool. Who is there that you haven't had work for you or that you haven't worked with that you would love to work with?
Yeah, I guess two names. One, Barack Obama. That would be super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Love that guy. But the number one, Tom Hanks.
Wicked. Why Tom Hanks?
I love the man. Sometimes there's moments in all of our lives, I think, where you just have a day, and then you chuck on Big, or You've Got Mail, or Sleepless in Seattle, Forrest Gump. The list is endless, Castaway, whatever your film is. And Tom makes me feel a sense of like calm. He's kind of someone who's just, it just exudes warmth, I think.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
he's also lovely and utterly delightful. And that to me is just, Tom's the coolest. We'll get there. We'll save him for something something extraordinary. Great. You'll do something. You'll do something.
I love that. He is, I think, in my opinion, he's one of the best actors on the planet.
Yeah, and I think, best actors and also, one of the best people, I think. There's a warmth that he has.
Yeah, and no, I agree with that.
He captures it every time, and that's what it's all about, I think.
I love that. Well, I look forward to that. That'll be a very
exciting. We'll save that one.
And Barack Obama. I mean, that's pretty.
That would be cool. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I find him so like motivation. Yeah, just really loved his kind of the way that he embraced being normal, really.
Yeah.
And just with his family and just that whole kind of persona. And yeah, so I've got huge respect for him.
So let's jump to people in sort of actors and singers in the industry right now. Obviously, it's been this last sort of year or so has been a bit of a bumpy road for a lot of people. People have jumped off the track to jump back on and kind of had to do some side hustles or do different jobs, jump into different industries and careers, and are starting to make their way back in. Some people are super lucky and have already got jobs lined up and booked and things, but people that are whether they've graduated from college recently or going to be graduating from college, or whether they're just sort of at the start line again of the industry, what's your advice, what are your tips for everyone that's kind of trying to make a comeback?
First of all, there's a couple of things which really do matter. There are countless people who can fulfill any casting requirement that comes out. Now, there are those people that, for whatever reason, God has gifted them with the unique ability to shine just that bit brighter in certain circumstances. But let's not forget the hard work that has gone into that. But there is no doubt that for certain roles, there are certain people who have just embodied that, to a standard which seems unsurpassable. But if we move that to the side and concentrate on, generally, there are countless, thousands of people who could fulfill the role of Raoul or Eponine. There are loads. In every graduating year, there are people who could walk into that role and do a great job. So what becomes the defining factor? I think the defining factor is solely individuality. The fact that you as a person are unlike anybody else. And the moment that you try and be normal, the moment that you try and fit a stereotype of any kind, suppress who you are for even a second, is the moment that you virtually lose every chance of ever being cast. Because we've seen it all before. You are no different to the person who walked in and sung flawlessly 2 seconds ago. So what makes you different is the fact that you are you. You walk into a room and you accidentally throw your sheets around and kick over the water. None of that stuff is terrible. It's just you. It's quirky, and the way you react to things. You've had a terrible day and you've literally, the wind's blown your hair and you're all over the place. There's nothing wrong with being human. We're all human. And what we see so often are people who just think you just got to go, hello, my name is, and this is what I do. And I just wish people would just come in and be, boom, this is who I am, and really stamp that personality. Mostly, people are very nervous casting. It works both ways. The people coming in, but you want to get the right person. You want someone who's going to be a great company member, someone who's going to work their socks off and be great to have around. Professional, but also not a diva, not someone who's going to cause any kind of, kind of disharmony. So attitude is everything. And that is what sets you apart from everybody else. Not only the way of which you come in and you sing and you dance and you act, that's great. But I can get somebody else who can do that. But I can't get you, the exact incarnation of you and what you bring, and that warmth that we talked about with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
You know, they come in and just, there's something, it's the aura. And that's what self-taping has really kind of taken away.
Yeah.
You can't get someone's aura that well. You can kind of guess when, you know, when people are really, you think kind of, yeah, this is what they're like. But in a room, people are so different. So when you're purely trying to cast off videos, you're in your kind of mind going, right, what is it we need to do? Well, we need to try and get that person to be human and show us their human qualities. And that's my genuine advice, to embrace who you are, to be who you are. And for God's sake, do not let anybody stop or suppress that.
Yeah. I love you for saying that. I'm such a huge advocate for being yourself, singing with your voice, letting you and your personality and everything about you shine through, because everyone's talented. There's hundreds of talented people, and there are 50,000 people that can sing that song, that could play that role, but no one's going to do it like you. No one brings the qualities you bring to that role. So I think it's so, I agree with that so much. I love you for saying that.
What happens though, there are a lot of misconceptions about the industry. And one of them is that people want the outcome, so the role, but they are unwilling to kind of walk in the footsteps of those who came before them and put in that crazy amount of effort that it takes to get there. It's almost like it's a right sometimes. And I tell you, Lea Salonga is a great example. She works so hard. I mean, even now, you know, in a studio, and it's like, it's just utterly focused, and you know, it's almost now become, you know, kind of intuitive. She does it because it's built in of what she does. But what you can tell about it is that what it took to get there. And sometimes that individuality is, believe me, that is it, what it's all about.
Yeah.
But you mix that with hard work. I mean, graft.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about like, let's do an hour of singing a day, studying, you know, reading theories about acting, theories about singing, looking at the greats, how they portrayed themselves, how they stood, how they interacted, and trying to find stuff that you don't know. And it's those hours behind the scenes, over and above the requirements of a course. That's what makes the greats great.
Definitely.
No doubt about it.
What are your thoughts on like creating connections? And I mean, how do you feel if people reach out to you, or what would you say to people that have thought about reaching out to maybe casting directors or composers, musical directors? What's your thoughts on that?
So I love it when people reach out. You know, sometimes it takes me a couple of days to get back, because there seems to be like, you won't get a message for like a couple of days and then you'll get like 50 or something. And I love it. I think it's amazing that people, you know, want to write and send things, and I'll always do my absolute best to like give as much time as I absolutely can to listen and do a Zoom if possible, or whatever, you know, is best helpful. If people are not receptive to that, then maybe they're just not people you want to know. You know, it's in life, there are people who are going to be receptive to you, and you're going to be their kind of person, and they'll see something of themselves in you. We've all been there. We've sent email after email, we don't get a response. It's utterly disheartening. Or you're on the phone to like, I don't know, British Gas or somebody. And they're like, we'll phone you back. And in your head, you go, there is more chance, right, of Elon Musk ringing me up and going, do you want to be in the next kind of rocket ship to Mars, right, than British Gas calling you back, right? About your refund, right? It's not going to happen, you know? So like they fob you off, and that's kind of a lot of what the industry is. It's you send stuff out, we'll get back to you. No, you won't, right?
Yeah.
That's. But then there are those rare people who really mean it.
Yeah.
And you should never be disheartened by British Gas / everybody else. I'm not singling out British Gas in particular. You know, BT, the whole lot of them, because we get used to just like, oh yeah, I've heard it all before. The moment you start diminishing your kind of drive to do it, and is the minute that you kind of become less of yourself, and you start kind of going, no, I'm not going to go for that one. I'm not going to go for that one. Oh yeah, I'm never going to get it. I can't tell you how many times people have said, oh, I'm never going to get it. And actually they've been the perfect person, you know, and they just don't see it, or they don't want to believe it. And it's, you've got to be in it, that in it to win it thing. If you do not put yourself forward. But if we want to hone into a couple of things which are really, really important. Number one, please, I beg people to go and make sure, if you're using Spotlight, please make sure it's up to date. Please make sure that there's a photo that looks like you, that really reflects you as a human. You know, if you are a happy person, you know, do not portray yourself as like kind of moody. You know, it's like it doesn't do anything for you. You know, so get a photo that you're really happy with. Please make sure that you have some, you know, if you are a singer, you've got to have some music on there. It sounds simple, but it's so, we see it all the time.
Yeah.
And those songs, if you are a classical singer, you know, unless we're doing some kind of Freddie Mercury thing, you know, make sure that it's music that reflects you. I know drama schools, they love this, right? We've got to be versatile. Let's get a show reel together with like you singing like every style. Yeah, that's fine for drama school, and maybe when you're trying to get picked up as an agent, you know, to get an agent. But when you go out into the real world, you pick that where you sit. Yeah. And if you are trying to go for Christie, you know, we don't need to hear, you know, there's no point doing the We Will Rock You, because it's just, you know, so know who you are. Make sure that everything reflects who you are, from the photo to the sound files to the video, which I think is far more important. I don't listen to show reels, particularly if it's just audio, unless someone asks me to. Generally, you know, I'd like videos. It's just, you can see the person and you get more from it. But you'd be surprised how many people do not have material, or it's of a bad quality, or it's very out of date, or it doesn't reflect them. Getting all of those things right are like the basics. And a lot of times I'll go on looking for somebody, and this happened this week. I was looking for a very particular cast. I was looking for someone to replace someone in a cast. And I was just going through, oh, look, this is the kind of, you know, look at good experience. No, can't find any kind of voice reel, nothing, bit of a Google. And like, quite genuinely, we'd have got in touch with that person. But because it was like really rushed and hurried process, a couple of ones later, I found someone who fitted the bill. I was like, right, okay, we've heard them. We'll get in touch. So getting those basics, I know it sounds really obvious and simple, but it's so important.
Are you quite happy to see like a homemade sort of show reel, singing a couple of different styles of songs that are videoed in, you know, in your living room against a white wall or something like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most phones shoot in 4K. And, you know, and that is a phenomenal standard to shoot in. Yeah. You know, so the video quality should never be an issue now. Yeah, we can put a bit of light, you know, do it when it's bright and do it when it's light. And yeah, you know, the sound and how that gets out. But what I look for is the fact that someone hasn't recorded it and because that's, again, it's kind of against, I just want someone to sing and for it to be really kind of real. That's what's important. There's no real excuse anymore for like bad quality home stuff, because the standards of iPhones or Samsungs or whatever are just too good now.
Yeah.
So like, it's years ago, you'd have to go and get a really, right, we've got to get this big time camera to come and do this. And we've always got that ability. I do think there is something to be said for singing the right song. Yeah. There are songs which people hear a million times a day. Like, Les Mis and all of that stuff, as great as it is, nobody wants to hear another version of I Dreamed a Dream unless they are specifically going for a part in Les Mis.
Sure.
There are so many other choices. And quite often it says a lot about you as a person. Because I think it shows that you've invested time into not only finding something that's kind of interesting and you put it into your, rather than just going, well, I know I dreamed a dream, so we'll smash that out.
Yeah.
So song choice is great. And I'm not saying it can't be a classic song, but there is something to be said for just being, there's leaving those top, maybe 30 songs, which is basically everything from Wicked, everything from Phantom, everything from Les Mis, and a splattering of the others.
What are your thoughts on people choosing songs that maybe somebody else might have just sung in an audition? Do you think people should change their song, or do you think if they plan to sing that song and they sing it well, to stick with it?
Yeah, I wouldn't change, not unless I knew something that was equally as good, equally reflected me, and I was equally prepared for. Then I might consider, if I thought, right, okay, let's be a bit bolder. Yeah.
Awesome. What advice would you have for people that maybe are starting out with writing or composing?
Everybody's different, and this is a good thing. But the way I write is not like probably anybody else. My unconscious mind, so my brain, I will often plant an idea in there. So I need a song for something. There are two types. I'll sit at the piano sometimes and I will just write. I feel like writing something, and it'll probably be rock, something like that. If I'm going to just sit at the piano and write something, it'll be rock pop, probably in the style of like a Queen kind of ballady type thing. And that would probably be if I was just trying to express something that I'm feeling at that moment in time. Or I might write something Alan Menken in style, something a little bit Disney and a little bit kind of like that. If I'm writing something very specific even, I would normally think about it for a while, and I just plant it in my brain and then sit at the piano a couple of days later and it's ready. And it sounds ridiculous, but it's really how it works. I am not the person, I don't write like walking down the street singing. I used to do that a little bit. I don't do that. I find my song brain is either on or off.
Yeah. So
I could just sit at the piano and go, right, okay, I'm going to switch that on now. I never write lyrics before music, ever. Mm-hmm. Maybe like once or twice, like in every song or everything I've ever been involved in. I'm a terrible collaborator in terms of, it's true. I mean, me and Laura, we had a thing where we could kind of, it was like intrinsically linked perhaps, but like outside of that, it's never been great, because you've got this inside you, and this vision is what you want to kind of shape. Now, that only goes as far as music. I'm quite happy to collaborate on maybe lyrics, or definitely books, because I know nothing about that.
Yeah.
Or producing, but music, I'm quite like sensitive about. So I like to kind of. So everybody's different, but the biggest, most important thing that anyone could ever remember, number one, be as original as possible. You can never be original, so don't even try. Every note on this piano has been played and has been put together. Every chord sequence has been, treaded a gazillion times. And so you're never going to come up with something that is, absolute a curveball, but it's the sum of who you are as a human being. So the people who inspired me are Cole Porter, Irving Berlin, Richard Rodgers, George Gershwin, Alan Menken, Richard and Robert Sherman, Lorenz Hart, Oscar Hammerstein, Jerome Kern, these greats of John Williams. All of these people were the people in my life who kind of shaped, I listened to, and I absorbed that music. So everything I ever do in some way is a tribute back at them. It's my interpretation of everything they taught me as the greatest teachers in the whole world. And then, fortunately, Freddie Mercury came along, and Paul McCartney came along. And the way I write, I know there's the Beatles are in there, and Freddie's in some of the songs. I'm not saying they're as good, and I'm not even for 1 second comparing myself to that kind of quality. But in there somewhere is a tribute to these great people who came before and basically made everybody else go, how the hell do we write like that? And but that's kind of beautiful in its own way, because you'll never be as good as that. And that's fine. You know what you're aiming for. So when you write something, you go, would Alan Menken use this? No, throw it out. And there's the odd song I go, I think Alan would like this song. This might be one of his B tracks, like the guy could outright me a gazillion times over. I absolutely adore him. But I think in all of us, there are Julie Andrews is in there, and Dick Van Dyke's in there, and Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly, and they're all in there. We've kind of hugged them all and taken something, whether it's the warmth of Tom Hanks or the kind of the way that Meryl Streep can play every part in the world, better than anybody else, it seems. Whether she's singing or she's, whatever she's doing, she just smashes it out of the ballpark. We just take these little bits and it builds into who we are. And I see it like a canvas. And you get a piece of paper and you throw a bit of Menken and a bit of the Sherman Brothers and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And you sit down and you are yourself, but everything that you've come into contact with. And it's sometimes you don't even know, but it's in you because you were inspired by these greats who were your teachers. And that's perfect, because hopefully you might be somebody else's teacher.
And inspiration, definitely.
And if you can be that to somebody else, phenomenal. Your job is done. It doesn't matter what you achieve. If you have inspired somebody to do something, or to be more passionate about something, be more motivated, be more creative, more innovative, job done every time. That's what I think it's all about.
I could not agree more. So this is a little bit off topic. This is just a bit more of a personal, casual question. But if you could have dinner with anyone in the world, who would you invite around your dinner table? Is
that alive or
past? Up to you.
I would show you what's on my wall, but it will mess up every. But behind me, I've got Tom Hanks is there, Sinatra is there, Gene Kelly's there, Mario Lanza's there, Dick Van Dyke's there. All of these people would be right up there.
You need a big table.
I think I need a big table. It's tough. I mean, who would? The thing with that question, Tom Hanks would always be there, right? Tom's going to be there. We talked about Barack and Paul McCartney and all of those. But if we went for people who are just not with us anymore, who are just phenomenal. I just think there was something about kind of George Gershwin. There was something about those, Richard Rodgers. There was just something about Irving Berlin that was just so ridiculously incredible that just to pick their brains or to even assess what these people were like in real life. But there are lots of kind of movie stars and people who've, I've adored my whole life, Gene Kelly being one of them. Who just like every time I see them make me feel utterly inadequate. Every time I see Gene dance, not that I can dance or ever proclaim, but I just go like, just imagine being that good at anything.
Yeah.
Like there's a scene with him on roller skates, when he's tapping on roller skates, jumping on and off the curb. How is it even possible? And two, it's just ridiculous, and that's I just look at them sometimes and go, I just don't get it.
Yeah, how are you so good?
How do you do it? I'll always remember, and this is a great story, but I always remember singing for Debbie Reynolds, Singing in the Rain, and she told this incredible story. And I think this sums up, maybe more than any other story that I've got, what it takes to make it in the industry. And she said that when she was picked to be in Singing in the Rain, she had never met Gene Kelly up until that point. And she spoke with him and he said, how long have you been dancing? And she said, I dance a bit, but I've never really had any kind of serious professional training. So Gene, in a very Gene Kelly way, was like, right. So he got one of his dancers to basically go work with her for like, we'll say 6 months, or however long it was, every day, And she said one day she just couldn't do it, couldn't hack it anymore. And she was sat underneath a piano in one of the movie sets, kind of back lot. And she said she just cracked. Just couldn't do it. And she said she was crying. And Fred Astaire walks into this room and goes over to her and says, what's wrong? And she explains. And he goes, right, I want you to do something. He goes, I never let anybody into my closed rehearsals, ever. But he said, I want you to come, I want you to sit there, and I want you to watch. And she said, for the next 4 hours or something, Fred Astaire killed himself. His feet were basically bleeding. He was like sweat, changing his tops, towels. She said no one had ever worked so hard. She'd never seen anything like the determination, the drive, the commitment that he was putting into this practice. And he said, walked up to her afterwards and said, do you now understand what it takes to be great? And she said, yes. And she said she never looked back because she just realized that to be that good, even for Fred Astaire, it took everything. Yeah. And he was just wouldn't relentless. And I think that sums up what those greats really had, which was this something that just other people just don't understand sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is they were phenomenal, but they did work hard. My God, they worked hard, harder than anybody else. Yeah. They might have been more talented, but they worked harder too.
That's so inspiring. That's incredible. I've never heard that story before. That is amazing.
And to have her, she told an audience at the BFI that story, and just sensational. You just think, wow.
Is there anything else that you want to share with us before we round up?
I think the biggest thing I've learned in the last 2 years, comes down to a man called Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek is an incredible speaker. And I would strongly suggest anybody in the musical theatre industry today, not only to go and look at his TED Talk, Start With Why, but to apply this principle straight away. And basically, he created something called the Golden Circle. The Golden Circle is built up of 3 components. why, how, and what. So everybody understands how we do things. We are singers, we go and sing. How do we do it? Well, we get contracts, we go and do this, what do we do? Well, we do sing. That is what we do. We perform. We try to, impart what we've got out into the world. We create. But why is this really almost intangible to most people? Because why do you do things? Saying because I want to earn money and it's a job, that is not why. That's an outcome of something that you've done. The why is really important. My why is essentially to inspire people to do the things that they love, that they're passionate about, and in turn make them happier and healthier as a result of it.
Yeah.
Now, a brilliant why for the theatre industry, and one that a lot of people, I think, at heart carry, are things like to make the younger generation inspired about theatre. I think that's a great one, because I don't really care about the person who spends £400 and is a banker down in, the Docklands. They don't, honestly, great that they could afford £400 to go and see Hamilton. That's cool. I really care about the people who saved up and have gone, through saving and have decided this is their moment to go out. This is maybe their one trip a year to come to London to see a show. They're my audience. They're the ones, those little kids who smile and take on whatever is being put on, and it shapes and moves them. But understanding your why changes your perspective on everything, because you start to realize that actually the performing element perhaps isn't the sole reason why you do it. Entertaining people, not really a why. It's deeper than that.
Yeah.
Connecting with someone's soul, I kind of get it, but what does that mean? It doesn't really mean anything. How do you know? Did you ever prove that? No. But inspiring somebody to do something, or to be better, or to see the way that they, their life moves on, or they change, or you interact, your interaction with them has done something positive for them. That's it. So that's the first one. There are two types of games: infinite and finite games. Finite games have an agreed outcome, an agreed amount of players, and a defined end goal. So a game of football, finite game. Or the whole of education, agreed amount of players, you know what you're doing, why you're going, how long it's going to last, finite game. Within the infinite game, you get all these little finite games. But ultimately, there are no agreed set of players, no agreed agenda, no agreed rules. Anyone can come in and out of the game at any point. And what you realize is, if you play the finite game and you forget about what everybody else is doing, don't worry about competition, what they're doing, forget it. Just concentrate on you. Make the next step to an aspirational goal, which is probably bigger than anything you'll ever achieve. But to keep knocking little chips away. There's a great story. It's called the Rule of 5. And you get an axe. It doesn't matter how big the tree is. If every day you just hit that tree 5 times, bang, 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 come back tomorrow and do it again. Eventually, no matter how big that tree is, and it might take years, that tree will fall. And that's called the Rule of 5. A guy called John Maxwell. But if you apply that, just chip away and just live that infinite mindset where other people and what they're achieving, what they're doing, their education, the roles that they've got, and you just be grateful and happy for them, help people all along the way, and just be positive, you will get closer to that infinite goal, that infinite game. They're the two most important things I've learned of late. And I really strongly suggest that people go and listen or read, start with Why. It's an incredibly uplifting and brilliant book / TED talk that really got me out of a hole where I felt that I'd lost the reason why that I was even here. What was I trying to achieve? And that ultimately is to try and bring out the creativity in others.
Yeah.
So despite me wanting to write music, your goal is to write music. It's kind of a offshoot. I love writing music, and it's really important. But if you said to me, you can never write another song again, but you can go and inspire some people, I just give the piano away immediately.
Yeah, slightly more of a byproduct, isn't it, rather than a.
And it probably isn't for everybody, because I understand some people, their real goal is to perform or for their music to touch the hearts of, but that just isn't my one. You know, I'm grateful that I get to do that. And it means a lot to me to be able to do that. But if you say you've actually inspired me or changed something, or, you know, I decided to go and pursue this career, or I decided to go make a positive decision, that would mean so much more to me personally than having a #1 or an Oscar or anything like that. Because that's just who I am. Mm. And it's different for everybody. And you shouldn't be worried if your why is I want to be in the West End and I want to perform. That's, you know, that's what's inside you. But I know, and I hope that with most people, when you really chip down to the fundamental principles of who you are, that inside there is someone who really wants to make an impact and a benefit to the world in some way.
Yeah.
And those are the people, in my opinion, that can change the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that is such a wonderful way to finish off, actually. I think some of that advice is fantastic. And I've looked into Simon Sinek a bit, and I highly recommend all of his content across books and YouTube, social media, everywhere. I think he's incredibly inspiring.
Simon's a genius. Simon will openly tell you he's teaching people stuff that he should never have to teach, because it's the most basic.
Yeah.
You know, treat people with kindness. You know, be good to people. You know, understand why you're here. You know, it's the core. But Simon, let's be honest, he's got this incredible way of speaking, and it's powerful. But I strongly suggest that, and I really strongly suggest, above all else, to create habits in your life. And whether that's you wake up and you dedicate an hour a day to kind of self-improvement, and self-improvement isn't always reading a book, yoga, meditate, go for a walk, you know, mental, physical, emotional, whatever that is for you, but you've got to bring that in. I think understanding yourself is probably the most difficult thing in the whole world. And that's why Simon Sinek is great, because I think he really understands that once you find out who you are, you can then make decisions that have a positive impact. And you start kind of seeing, right, does this fall in with my ultimate plan? You know, am I on the right course, or am I drifting off course? Am I around people who are really trying to suppress who I am? And is that the right kind of people that we want to ultimately have influence our life?
Yeah. Just
be original, be you. Find out who that is. Who are you? And love them, embrace them, and give them. And start your audition with why. It's an amazing concept. You go in there a couple of seconds and go, this is what I believe. I love your show, and I'm here to sing. It's a really powerful concept, because it tells those people instantly who you are. And I would recommend it, and I've been telling people, and it's proven to be quite successful. And it gives you everything you need to know about a person instantly. And all of this stuff about like, the aura is suppressed, we got it. 1 minute, we got it. Yeah. So embrace, do it, be you, start with why. That's the way to do it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dan. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you join us for the first episode as well, which is wonderful. I definitely think we've started with a bang, which is great. If you're watching this and you enjoyed the interview, you enjoyed our chat, then please do give it a like or leave us a comment, and I will of course get back to you. Subscribe as well so that you never miss a future episode, and go find your why, as Dan advises, and hopefully there is something that you've taken away and found really useful in this chat, and I will see you in the next episode.